headhunting stronghold in Annapolis, Maryland, and beyond. This is the Recruiter Roundtable, Season 3. Every episode is an open discussion for recruiters, headhunters, and talent pros, so feel free to participate and just sit back and listen as we bring you topics and discussion, tips, tricks, and more from both industry dinosaurs and noobs alike. Please like and subscribe, and now let's start with Recruiter Roundtable Season 3, Episode 22, last Friday open discussion. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
So before we get started on just a general open discussion, there's two things I kind of wanted to show. Well, actually, we can talk about the second thing. But the first thing, go ahead, Kelly.
I want to talk about something too.
Okay. So the first thing was Jordan had discovered or showed me the most amazing, in my opinion, way to search Navigator in the accounts setting for those of us, right? So I never really used accounts, right? I've built out some companies and whatnot, and never really thought the searching side was that good. So he showed me the other day. We were talking about building out lists and whatnot, and how you build out lists. And then when I build out a list, I usually just use, LinkedIn Sales Navigator and put in title, location, yada yada yada. So under account filters, there's this thing right here, department headcount. And he goes down to human resources, and you put in 1. So that's going to be companies that have 1 human resource manager. And that means the hiring managers are going to be more apt to want to use our services, right? Right. So we did company headcount. I'm going to do 201 to 500 and 50 to 200, and then I'm going to do in one of the industries I work, so civil engineering.
That's amazing. A company so large would have only 1 manager.
I know. That's weird. So 322 companies between 50 and 500 employees in civil engineering only have 1 HR manager. And I know for a fact, this is a client of mine.
Yeah.
They have 64 employees, and Marine is their only HR manager. They use me all the time.
64 employees isn't that many.
But they still pay. In civil engineering, though, that is a decent-sized firm that pays fees without question.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about your industry, right? Like what industry you work, right? So in civil engineering, a company with any more than 50 employees is going to pay fees because they're doing $40 million in billings a year at 5% margins. What's that? $2 million in profit? Paying me 40 grand, 50, 60 grand a year is no big deal. Right. So
it's interesting you bring that up because I've always been, I don't know if it's just been trained, but you start knowing your industry and you look at that revenue number. What's the total revenue? And you work under the 150 million and below, or 100 million and below is the sweet spot, and you don't, again, that doesn't tell you if they have an HR manager. That doesn't tell you anything about the organization. They could have 3 HR managers, from that standpoint, or it could be internal recruiting. But I think this is a really cool approach to that, though. If you think about it,
and then right here, if you hit select all, now you can only do 25, but you can view all current employees right from here. What Jordan does, though, is he selects all of them and creates a account list, right, Jordan?
Yeah, so I would put all 61 of those on a list because there's 61 results that come up. So you would hit 25 of those, hit save to list, create a new list, call it, whatever, your civil engineering under 20 million, blah, 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 whatever the thing's going to be.
Over 20. This is over 20.
Over 20, sorry, yeah.
Over 20.
20 mil. And then I put less.
50 to 500.
Right.
Head count.
Basically no HR or one HR.
HR. Right. And then so you do that, right? So 25, and then you go to the next one.
Go to the next page. Go to number 2.
Select all.
Save the list. Same list. Go to page 2 you missed.
I know, I saw that.
And then select all, save the list. So now you have your 61 companies. And now you go over to
then we go over leads list, right?
Lead filters.
What are the chances, guys, that the HR might not be Jordan, maybe specific to you? What's the chances that talent acquisition, talent advisors
Yeah.
may not
But
be.
we check that. They fall
Yeah,
under
yeah,
that.
that's
That's
a
what
good
HR
question.
falls under.
Okay,
That's a
thank
good
you.
Yeah, so like watch. If we do talent,
None.
recruiter, 2, and it's HR recruiter, and then human,
So
42
it's,
out of 61 companies.
So, but that means, but again, that just means there's one human resource manager, though. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that there's a recruiter. So it's like, that's they got so much other shit to do besides hire people and recruit.
Yeah,
Like,
that's not. Yeah, like Maureen doesn't have time to recruit because she has to do intakes and employee when they leave, doing an exit interviews and all that bullshit. So now you got 7,500 people at that list, and then you would just come to seniority level, and let's say, okay, I'm going to look at vice presidents.
or just like whatever hiring manager you're going for, right? Like,
Yeah,
you do civil engineers. Like, what do you like? Who reports to
engineering
civil-
manager. Like, so
Mhm.
current title.
Yeah, you just do current title engineering manager.
$13, then chief.
Head engineer, chief engineer. So you have, I mean, there's 25 people that you could reach out to if you had a civil engineer NPC that says, hey, I got this great NPC, and here's the direct hiring manager, and that they don't have a recruiter on staff.
Yep. Chief engineer, engineering manager, director of engineering.
and you put 0?
0 to 1.
He put 1. I usually do 2 and under, or depending on the list size, I could do 3 and under. Like, you got to think about it based off the company size, right? Like, if a company has 500 employees, but they have 4 HR people, that's probably still a good person for me because there's too many employees for 4 HR people to ever manage. If the company has 50 employees, they probably don't want to have 5 HR people. They probably don't need a recruiter at that point.
So what if you do put in 0 for and
You could put in 0, and that means that there's not a single person on LinkedIn.
exactly. So then you're dealing with companies that are doing all of it themselves.
Or they're
Greg,
outsourcing.
to answer your question, it's only getting the data from LinkedIn. So if their LinkedIn manager, HR manager isn't on LinkedIn, it won't get it. But let's be realistic. At a company, your HR manager is probably the number one person you want on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have employees on LinkedIn, your HR manager is going to be one of them.
And it's not perfect. I mean, Tom and I found a company that was like 600 people, and they had 0 people in HR. And we're like, how is this possible? Yeah. So he looked into it. He looked into it, and they were a subsidiary of a bigger company. And when we found that bigger company, they had like 45 people in HR, and
including talent and everything, and talent acquisition and recruiters and everything.
So it's not perfect if they're a subsidiary, right? But
also, could some of them be using something Trinet, where they do like payroll, HR, everything is basically you're buying a service to do that instead of actually having employees?
Yeah, you do. Like, you have a fractional HR you work with. Yep. And that could be as well. And maybe they don't like their fractional HR though, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Or like,
and again, that means, but they don't have recruiting, right? The whole point of this is dealing with the hiring manager directly, right? Yeah. So in my mind, if any company that's only got one HR person, chances are you're going to have a much better chance of dealing with dealing with a hiring manager than you will HR, right? Like that seems, I mean, that's just been my experience over the years. If they have a big HR team, then you have to go through HR and blah, 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 blah. But if there's just one HR person at a company with 60, 70, 80, 100 employees, and like say 10 hiring managers, chances are the HR manager, if they like you, go talk to John. Yeah, I got a fucking time for this. That's what you want.
Well, another thing too is don't be afraid to go to the CEO or the president, because the companies I used to work with, they had 70 to 100 employees, no HR, and they used recruiters only when the CEO said, go ahead. Yes, we can't find someone for this role. And they would, they'd pass it on to me or something like that to contact the recruiter and reach out to them. But it hit the president's or actually it was the CEO's or the owner's inbox. he was the one that passed it off, says, hey, let's get this person in for an interview. So what I'm saying is just personal experience last 13 years prior to me starting this thing is that don't be afraid to talk to the owners of the company. They want good people. And a lot of times they're getting what they're normally told by management is we don't want to use recruiters. You have HR does everything. So when you talk to HR, they're going to say, hey, we don't use recruiters. We do it all internally. I do job postings. Go right over their head, because I'll tell you, you get a good candidate, it's good. They're going to get them in the door if they like the person.
With this strategy, you could be pretty confident going to the CEO that your conversation is going to land, because he doesn't have anyone to push you down to anyways. He doesn't have an HR department.
Did
Exactly.
did you also select hiring on LinkedIn, that option when you were?
I didn't. I mean, you could do that. I mean, there's a couple different ways, because there's also,
because
one
I
of the
got
things that
4,000. I chose companies like 50 to 200 and something, and got 4,000 in my industry. And when I narrowed it down to that selection on job opportunities, I got 1,000.
There's a couple different ways I like to narrow down. So that's one of them for job opportunities. I like to go with company headcount growth, like
right here.
like top. That's department headcount. So you could get granular. Like if you're only placing salespeople, you could do, hey, they got to be growing 10% of salespeople a year, right? Like in this area. So you can go to sales. If they're not growing 10% sales, they're probably not adding customers. So that narrows it down quite a bit. But if you're not specific on a certain like area, you could just say, hey, company headcount growth. If the company's growing at like right at the very top up there above headquarter location.
Yeah.
If
But
they're not
like
growing,
for example, building materials, we did human resources, one or less, sales 10% growth, right? More in sales reps, right? And in wholesale building materials in the US, we got 816, right? And then job opportunities, hiring on LinkedIn 17. So these 17 companies right now have a 10% headcount growth, and they're hiring on LinkedIn, and they have one HR person.
So that'd be a pretty good hot list. But for me, like I would almost, I mean, yeah, you could go after hiring on LinkedIn. I feel like it's low hanging fruit. Everybody goes after that. So like I don't use that one as much. I would go more of company headcount growth of 20%. So I'm like, I don't care if you're not saying you're hiring on LinkedIn. If you're growing 20% over the last couple of years, company headcount size, you should like dial in. Like if you're growing 20% a year, have less than one person in HR, and you're in my industry, like I'm probably gonna go after that. Yeah. For
Here's
me,
238.
Like I would even go like second connection, right? Because then I'm at least connected with somebody else. Connection of to the right.
Over here?
Yeah. I would, and so right now you are connected to all of these somehow. Is that correct? Oh, sorry. Because you're still building the account.
Yeah, we're building that out. Once we switch to the other one.
Yeah, exactly. Once you
we
save,
want companies that did at least $50 million in sales, and we don't, and no more than $1 billion, right? So we have 48 companies who are at least $50 million in sales, have a 20% headcount growth in the US in wholesale building materials with one HR manager.
So then, so that would drop all 48 of those in a list. And then
let's just do the first 25 so we don't have to keep doing that. But then pretend we did it into a list, and you would hit view current employees.
Yep, it would take the list
and then
over.
We would go to second degree.
Yep. Because now I know I have at least somebody in common with them. So when I reach out to them, they're going to be like, oh, they know, Jim or Stacy.
But why wouldn't you do first connections as well?
Sure. You could do that. I usually don't have, but like a handful, like 11. So you could reach out to those 11. That should definitely be where you first start. Usually I'm connected to like one.
Okay. Okay. I was just kind of like,
no. You're 100% right. That is the A+ list that you should be reaching out to. Those are the people that you have a connection with already.
Yeah.
But assuming you don't, second, and the list is still too big.
I would look at second degree and then come to, like you said, what title do we want, right? So seniority, I guess, or like function. I would want sales. And then seniority, I would want anybody who's vice president, 6 VP of sales, 6 XOs, experience manager, director, owner, partner. So 24. Senior vice president of sales, vice president. These are, if I had a good sales candidate, like in territory sales for building materials, here are the guys.
Yep. And we know these people have companies that are growing at 20%. They don't have HR. They're in your niche. They're going to be way more likely.
Question on this department headcount. We're all focusing on HR. Where else could this be good for us?
What are you placing?
Anything? I'm just wondering. Like for me, I couldn't think of anything in my industry. So I place in construction, building materials, manufacturing, and civil structural engineering. Right.
Right.
So engineering managers in that thing, sales reps, operations people in manufacturing, and then in design, build, construction, project managers, pre-construction managers, estimators, superintendents. Right. So other than HR, are there any other departments that if they were low would benefit us? That's the one I couldn't. I mean, I guess you could do business development. If they only had one business development person, maybe they need business development people.
Are you asking what from this analysis, where are they shortest where you can provide people to it, Tommy?
No, the idea behind this was, I know you came in late, is that we don't want to deal with HR. We don't want to deal with recruiters. We don't want to deal with talent acquisition, right? So if a company that we want to work with, right, or an industry we work in, you find all the companies that have one human resources person or less, right? That's it. So there's a million companies in here. We hit United States. And then for me, I hit, let's say we'll just do civil engineering, right?
Right.
So, but you're going to have a lot of onesie twosies in there. So you come up the company headcount and you do companies that say are 51 to 200. There's 307 engineering firms in the United States that have more than 50 employees, which means they can pay a fee. And you can absolutely go after, the hiring manager, because most chances are, like AdTech's a client of mine right here. Maureen is pulling her hair out with all the other stuff that goes with HR. She doesn't have time to recruit.
Okay. Oh, Tommy, what about support?
Like what? Customer support, accounting support?
On that list, I noticed when you went to real quickly, you were asking what titles might be also indicative of how much help they have. They might be begging you off or making you call their administrative support person who handles it. We've all been in that situation.
Yeah, there's one at the bottom called support. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the very end.
Administrative.
Yeah, administrative would be one.
It's even bigger. And what was the other one?
There's one at the very bottom called support.
Now that could be any shade of
255. Yeah, so all three of these, administration, support, and HR. With HR, I think being the smallest. Let me look.
And it's also the most specific with regard to titles.
With regard to what we're trying to do, right?
It's the most identifiable.
Yeah.
307, right? So of these 307, of these number, whatever number this is, 307 don't have HR, but the numbers for administrative and support were actually lower. So they do have admin and support. It just depends. What does that mean? What does admin mean? Like a secretary, administrative assistant? She's not recruiting, right? She's the administrative assistant to the president
But you can argue that point, I think, Tommy, when they say, well, my admin takes care of that. That's when you can engage in that discussion of, is she a specialist?
How successful is he? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, how's that going for you?
I guess the idea would be like this one right here, like 307, like that's a lot. If you had a good civil engineering candidate, right? You had an MPC, guy that brought in land development. I guess you'd have to put, like, for me, let's do structural, right? So
do that for any.
But Tommy, you're also talking about all of the United States. I'd argue in that in that specific, it would be better if you were regional on that. I mean, Seattle, New York, Chicago, LA, etc. That's going to cut it down a lot.
Yeah. But you could also just market an NPC to these companies you want to do, knowing that. My idea would be if you're a new recruiter, right, and you're trying to break into a market, here are 99 companies involved in structural engineering that have one human resources person or left that have more than 50 employees, which means chances are they're going to use a recruiter in some time, because if you have more than 50 employees, you're doing enough money you can afford to pay a 20 or 30 grand fee a couple times a year. And then you go out there and say, okay, I want to open up the structural engineering market in civil engineering firms or consulting firms. Send out 99 emails if you do the email blast, or make 99 phone calls. Hi, my name's Tom. I'm wonderful and great. Got a candidate that's wonderful and great. And granted, maybe you're going to get searches in places you don't want. But once you open up, let's say, the New York market, like you said, you get 2 searches in New York. Now you have candidates to market back into New York.
Well, right. And then you got cred in New York. But if you're talking about, Omaha, you're sort of, and no offense to Omaha, but
that's my town.
Look,
not anymore.
Okay, Golden Eagle, Idaho. But you're talking about so out of the way that your efforts are going to be a one placement only.
Yeah,
Laramie, Wyoming. One horse town.
I mean, right here, if I did design build in the U.S., no industry, just keyword design build, I got 384 companies without HR.
Arco Murray, I know them.
I'm surprised Arco Murray, and you know what? This is one that me and Jordan were talking about. Arco Murray is owned by Arco.
Oh, it's huge.
Arco's got
it's obviously not perfect. Yeah, you got to read between.
No, but this is a great template to run through the paces. Jordan, thanks for pointing that out to us.
Yeah.
Jordan? Is this off the normal Navigator or the premium Navigator?
Yes. No, this is. I got I got the ghetto version.
What's the premium Navigator? I don't even.
It's weird because I picked up a consulting gig, and they wanted me to do. I'd already signed up for the free Navigator, which I like, but they paid for Recruiter Lite, and the thing is you can't have both.
Right.
I went through a whole thing where I got into I needed LinkedIn to help me, because I'm like, guys, I want to give you money for this. I canceled this. Why won't it let me?
Yeah.
And so
there's 3 levels of Navigator, right?
I thought there were 2.
I don't really do InMail. Like, that's not my thing. So
no, it's not. But it gets me.
Doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. Maybe there are 3. Maybe there's one with a job posting.
I'm on I think it's called Core. Yeah.
Core, Advanced, and Advanced Plus, right? So Core is what most of us have. I bought it. Mine, I got off of the App Store for $79. I guess it doesn't exist anymore. And the thing is, like, there's these Leads IQ, buyer intent signals, smart links that are available in the Advanced. And then you get 50 emails a month that roll over to 150. And I don't see any here. These 1, 2, 3, 4 things are in the Advanced.
They have like
CRM integration.
Yeah, that's right. But everything has like a extension nowadays, so I don't understand why you would ever care about that. But
I just want to get them out of the LinkedIn ecosystem. I want them in my
system. Which is why you use your extension, because otherwise, even with the nice one, they don't want you to take it out of their ecosystem. It's like some built-in CRM that they have.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't know.
It does integrate with HubSpot though.
Yeah.
Hey, Navigator I had a question, whether it be Jordan or Tom. When I was doing the search here, I was just pulling it up, and they have like where they have headquarters located. Is there a way that you could do like, I don't want the headquarters in a specific state. I don't care. I just want the manufacturing. It's like,
so you would go to after you build the list out, right? In account, right? You go and you put in, these are manufacturing companies, a head count of 50 or less, or 50 or more with one HR manager, and you create a list and put all 173 in the list. Then you go into Sales Navigator Leads and drop that account in. Let me show you.
No. That's okay. I get that.
So you go into Leads and go to under.
I think I know where you're going with. No
workflow,
worries.
You go to account lists. You drop the account list in there, and then you choose the location.
Okay.
And you can add multiple locations at that point.
Yeah. You could have,
I found 195 that fit the spot in Iowa, and that's their headquarters in Iowa too. So that's kind of where I was trying to hit at. So I'm going to go state by state.
If you were going to go after plant managers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
you would then, and say you only want to work with plant managers in the Northeast. You could put in, New York, New Jersey, whatever, and you're going to get all the plant managers affiliated with those companies with the one HR person.
Okay. That's cool. Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Awesome.
Kelly,
Thanks,
you had you said you wanted to talk about. Does anybody have any more questions about the Navigator stuff before we move on?
I guess I can go back and watch the video. I was just curious, real quick. Can you show once you put that list in, you're taking the list of companies, putting in that in a list, and then sorting by titles that you want to go after? Is that what you did?
So,
yeah, basically, like
yeah,
you
you
have
get
to,
so right
you
here, accounts lists. Let me get rid of this so we clear this. Hold on. So
Hey,
you go to account
Jordan,
list.
don't leave the meeting. I got to ask you a question. So
Civil over 20, 50 to 500 employee, over 20% headcount growth, 50 to 500 employees, one person in HR, right? So now that's going to give me every employee of those 60, I think it was 61 companies. So 7,500 employees. Now, do I want to narrow this down to location? Do I want to narrow it down to seniority level, job title, right? So this is engineering. So we were talking about, okay, so let's say engineering manager.
Yeah, so I got that. So basically, you could only save 25 at a time, but you went back and got another 25 and saved that in the same list. Is that what you did?
Yeah, exactly. You just go to the
Yeah.
next page. Like,
Yeah, so you would
there's
click
300.
select all, save the
It
list,
takes like 3 minutes,
and then come down here and go to number 2, select all, save
Oh, I
that same
see.
list.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
And then in accounts, you have your up here, your saved lists are somewhere in here, right? Where are the lists?
To the top right, go to see account list. On your top
sorry.
right, yeah. I know it's
So there's the civil, USA Construction, 200 to 500 employees. Like, and it shows all them. And then we can then view and search.
It just drops it straight in there for you.
Drops it right in there. And then for these, USA Construction, 2 to 500 employees. This was one I built a long time ago, I think. I didn't even know of Jordan's thing. I could do, who do I want to call on? I want to call on the, it's in this thing. So you want to go to leads and go to,
account list.
Yeah, there we go. It shows me right here. And then I come to title and then op director.
Got it. Thank you.
And boom, I got a list of all these director of operations, director of safety and training, right? Or whatever. And if I want to do is, let's say I want to manage, do I have a safety guy?
Yeah, you got 74 safety dudes, and then
Yeah.
If you really wanted to, maybe you have first connections to them, maybe you just want to go after second connections,
Yeah, so I can come up here to connections, first degree, second degree.
A lot of times in mine are, but second degree, and then like I would
35.
go through, and like I would go through like this and see like, okay, who is my mutual connection? Because we all know we have some people that we've connected to, we don't really know who the hell they are. But if there's someone that you're connected to that you actually really know, like maybe he really knows Paul, I'd be reaching out to Paul and being like, "Hey,
can you get me an intro to Danny? I got a great director of
an intro to Danny right
service."
now."
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Going once, going twice. Sold to Kelly Nelson. Kelly, you had something.
A connection of mine who I do know on LinkedIn had a bot interviewing with him. Have you guys seen that? Maybe it's just in tech, but there was a guy, there was a real person there, but the bot was answering all the questions. And the video only showed the candidate from the neck down, didn't show his face because obviously he didn't want my connection who was doing the hiring to see that he wasn't answering the questions, the bot was. So
he was using the bot on the interview.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of things out there, and it sounds like that your client's guy he was interviewing was an idiot. Or your client has the detection system, right? So yeah, they are getting really good, Jeff. And there's also now software that the bot will sit in a way that no one can see it. So you can see here talking. The bot is actually on the screen in a little box, right? That you can just, as the guy is asking questions, the answers come up in the screen for you, and there's no way to detect it. What's his name? Dom had sent me. Let me see if I can find what he had sent me. He sent me about it. We were like just really surprised on how well it worked. It was really, really good.
I can see that can make you more effective, but if you don't know how to do the job and just the bot's telling you what to answer, eventually when you get to the job, you're not going to be able to do it. You know, if I get a heart surgeon job, then it becomes time for me
if it's remote and you're a tech guy and you can use ChatGPT to limp along for 6 months and make money, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, this was happening actually in a different fashion a couple of years ago with a recruiting company here in town that was doing telecom recruiting. There were a lot of Indian recruiting firms that would train these people for 6 weeks to be able to answer a lot of questions, and then they'd send in someone else. And so they did two things at the Denver shop. They basically excluded most Indian recruiting firms, which is always a good thing, I think. And or they made sure that the person whose ID came to work was the same ID as the guy who was or gal who was interviewing.
I heard that same story several different ways, right? That they were just prepping having somebody interview, and then a different guy was showing up for the job.
So in tech staffing, this is very common, and it's been happening before AI was even on the scene. They'd have a person that knows the actual stuff through the interview, and then somebody else shows up.
Exactly.
And what they do is they have people that can pay, like, we'll just say X amount of $1,000, take basically a boot camp type course, and then show up on a contract basis. And by the time the client figures out that they don't know shit, they either figure it out or they made them believe that they were doing it. And it's still very prevalent on that side. So that's why, as Steve said, a lot of companies are screening away or using different techniques to
the problem is because they're still doing Teams interviews, that if they basically had them come in the office, then you would get rid of a lot of that, which will probably go back to that, then if this becomes a prevalent problem.
Yeah, but is it really, I mean, Anthony, are they really going to? I mean, it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
Where it's, if we can do it cheaper, if we can do this, if we can do that. What was the example? The Klarna example is one of the big ones right now. And then what was it? What school was it? It was an Eastern school. They just created an agent. They called it Agent Company Incorporated, and it was a whole bunch of AIs. It was 3 of the AIs created a company, named them the CEO, CFO, HR, blah blah blah, and so they were this whole company run by AIs, and it failed miserably. And they kept arguing too much. They kept having too many meetings. But it's going to be coming. Yeah. And it's kind of like David Marr was saying, back in the old days, I remember in tech, there was a couple of recruiting guys that Anthony and I, let's say, we knew enough about the tech to get through we were recruiters, but we do a phone interview. We knew enough to get through and make the person happy. And then Anthony would say, "Oh my God, my wife is texting me. I got to go. I'm so sorry. If I'm good for this, I'm interested. If not, blah, blah, blah." So Anthony gets the in-person interview at, let's say, Disney next week. Anthony and Alan recruit for this job for a solid week. Okay. And then usually 30 to 60 minutes before the in-person interview, Anthony calls the manager and says, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I want to be professional. I just got another contract. It's for a huge amount of money. I can't reject it, but I'm so blah, 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 blah." 10 minutes later, Alan calls, "Mr. Manager, hi, blah, blah, blah. I'm with so-and-so, and we've got this," and it's dialed.
Jeez.
And Southern California knew about these people and would say, "Well, good, we need you to come in and meet with us." "Oh, you can't." "Well, then never mind."
I tell you what.
So this is the stealth interview. This is the one that you can code. The code comes up, and you could copy the code and paste it, or not paste it, but type it like you're typing, and that's what the interviewer sees. Your screen, all the information is coming up on your screen, and the interviewer can't see it.
Oh,
and even if
wow.
the interviewer is watching you, it's going to look like you're reading and typing because you're following the box that's on the screen.
I mean, seriously, guys, you've got to be like Iron Balls McGinty to think that you're going to be able to get away with this too many times.
No, not really. No, let's no. Come on, look. If you're at a company who's racing to the bottom to save money, you're overloaded, and because you're overloaded, you're not doing in-person interviews. You're doing Teams, unless you're doing total remote jobs. So you're setting the table to be open to this.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I totally agree with Alan. Then I mean, but oh my God. You know, listen, I just spent 2 weeks in Turkey, and if you've ever been to Turkey, you know that you are a victim every single second. And this bullshit reminds me of what they were pulling on us every millisecond. Scam everywhere you go.
I didn't know it's really like that in Turkey. I didn't know that.
Oh my God.
So, like, what happened?
Just take Vegas, Mexico, and a carnival and add them all together.
Oh, Jesus.
If you love haggling with everybody, and if you're, I mean, wow. Let me tell you real quickly, the first hotel that we booked back in February. They cashed that credit card thing. We get there. Now, mind you, I had to research. My wife, bless her heart, set up a couple hotels for us. I actually look at the reviews, and somebody said, this hotel is not around anymore. So I called Travelocity. Long story short, we arrive in Istanbul. 10 o'clock we get there. It is not even in existence. Yeah. If you go to Turkey, you will find out what it feels like to be bent over or attempted to be bent over.
So make sure you use Google Maps and Google Earth before you book.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I never not book with I won't book through any of those apps.
Yeah.
Well, there is something to be said for what you're doing, Thomas, because what you find out, I think, in short, is
it's not worth it for the $4 you're going to save.
What's that?
To me, it's not worth it for the few bucks you're going to save.
Well, you know what you might risk is the fact that, you know, so often we bill, or most companies seem to bill when the service is rendered. But if you go through a booking agency that pays that right there, in these scammy countries, second world countries, man, you may find out that your credit card has been dinged, and they're nowhere to be seen.
So hearing you say that, Steve, and listening to Jordan and Tommy and everybody else here, you know, and I don't know how to make it attractive enough to clients, but so we got the interviews, we got the fake interviewers, we got the fake candidates, we got the fake travel thing, doesn't it just come back down to relationships? Isn't it going to be exactly. What's old is new again? But it's now you're going to have to get somebody, and we're going to have to be there. I mean, thank God for our industry that Tommy and I are, and anybody else that's in construction. It's one of the industries where, you know, it is so connected up that, you know, but it's just, I don't know what the answer is for tech and to get around, but it is a value proposition that Jordan and Anthony and everybody else can offer. Say, hey, we guarantee we're going to bring you human beings, and they're going to be and they're going to be real.
That's what it's come to now.
Well, I seriously think that there's going to be a massive shift and opportunity to make a lot of money over the next 5 to 10 years on the agency side. I started my career in recruiting in agency, and I've been on the corporate side for the past few years. And it's similar to Alan. I think that with what companies are doing internally, they're basically devaluing recruiting functions.
Yeah.
So all the people that actually have the skill set and know how to recruit, I think are shifting. I'm seeing it a lot, and I'm sure you are as well, Alan, more towards the agency side. So I think there's going to be huge money to be made on this side.
I think you're right, but I'm going to add a caveat to that, and I want to hear everybody on this one. Is I think it is, as long as you can A, build a relationship, and B, as long as you can have clients that don't want to be lied to, that don't allow themselves to be lied to. And what I mean by that is the classic, I meet with Jordan, senior manager, we're talking about, okay, great. And Jordan said, you know, Alan, I'd like to do this, blah, blah. I said, great. Let's work in reverse. You need a person. Well, that's okay, but here's it. So day one, 2 weeks notice, sourcing, interviewing, blah, blah. This is going to take about 45 to days. Oh, Alan, you know, these two companies, I mean, they told me they can have resumes to me by next Thursday. Stop. You know, it's like, well, do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to make you feel good? And that's how you have to filter it. And I agree with Dave. I think there will be opportunities, and I'm seeing it, but we also need to have the clients that are mature enough to say it. And what I find funny, you know, is just say this, Tommy, I think you might have mentioned it, is go, if you haven't, I just started the book Alchemy, go pick it up.
That wasn't me. Alchemy?
Alchemy. It's by the guy that used to run Ogilvy and Mather, I think, the PR advertising company. And it's really good. I mean, the first half hour has been really good. He talks about how, you know, logic is fine, but illogical things is what humans do. And there's the logical reason a person buys, and there's the real reason they buy. And it's fascinating. And so far it's been real interesting. But what we do is provide service. We're making a promise, and our reputation backs that promise. And if somebody says, well, you know, Tommy, I mean, you know, look, Tommy and I went through this. I had an argument with my company because Tommy needs an upfront payment. And I'm like, look, here's two companies, and here's this guy, and he's got his head on straight. He knows what he's doing. He knows the industry, blah, blah, but he needs it. Well, you know, I don't think we want to. And it's like, okay, fine. Cool, fine. Your decision, blah, blah. And I must have run through, here, Tommy, use this as your ad. I must have run through 70 screenings. And my screening, if I find a candidate, my screening is less than 2 to 1. Less than 2 screenings to get to a candidate. I blew through 70 screenings to find 3 candidates from the agencies.
Oh,
Jesus.
That's how much time I had to use. And these were, you know, construction specific. So
that's insane.
So I think Dave and Tommy and anybody else, I don't know who else is in construction, but the Steve, I think there's an opportunity. And I think once this economy starts noticeably moving up, I think, like in other industries, I think there's going to be a floodgate open. And I'm wondering who's going to look at AI instead of trying to replace all their employees and say, it's a tool. We need to use it logically for this and operations and here, and have somebody help with it. And
I think we're going to do it. That's what Gene's going to be talking about. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that think that they're going to be able to do a lot of replacements and stuff that's not going to work. And the reason I said that is there's an article, a CEO bragged about replacing human workers with AI, realizes he made a terrible mistake, and he's trying to hire everybody back.
That's Klarna.
Is it Klarna?
I think it's Klarna.
Did Klarna hire a bunch of people back, or is he still doing
They're trying to.
Are they really trying to bring them physically back?
Yeah,
Klarna. Swedish pay now, pay later company Klarna, whose CEO once bragged about its automated customer service AI bots doing work of 700 full-time agents, is now in deep trouble. They lost $99 million the first quarter.
Oh, good on him.
Ouch.
Good on him.
But how many? But how many of us remember this? Is this just a reboot of the 90s, the early aughts of India, of the offshoring? Look, there was
I'll go back and say it's the reboot of Monster's going to put us out of business.
Well,
and Career Builder's going to put us out of business. And oh my God, we're not going to need recruiters anymore, right? And that didn't happen.
Recruiting growing. Yeah, and recruiting kept growing. And also, you know, India was also because McKinsey kept telling everybody you can pay 20 cents on the dollar and get this stuff. But then you had the companies that I saw in Southern California where they bought it, they shipped it off, it couldn't get finished. They had to hire people on contract here at 100 cents on the dollar, and they're paying that, and they're paying over there, and the product isn't good. So I don't know right now. Right now, I think the frothiness is starting to wear off. And Gartner, I heard on a podcast, Gartner has this curve of a new thing and all the hype and all this, and right now, and then there's the post-hype. We were wrong, or we were too overambitious. The Gartner guy was saying, we think that's going to happen at the end of 26. So we're just starting to get down to, okay, where can it be used? How can it be used? It's a tool. It's going to be there. And you're right, Tommy. Monster, Career Builder, LinkedIn. Yeah.
Well, you said it all in just the word relationship. We're going to have to make sure these companies understand, between, shit and shinola, the value of somebody who's actually a human being and wants to be in it for the long haul.
Mm-hmm. It's because I don't think the 80-20 rule exists in recruiting and TA anymore. I think it's a 95-5. I think it's a 97-3, because tools have made it so easy for wannabes and people that don't take it professionally. And I think it's hard to meet the quality people, the people that are on this call, and take the chance with them, a company taking a chance with them. So,
well, they'll give it a whirl, and you
Mhm.
can't blame them. I think what we're going to really have to do is practice some, deep breathing and patience. Let them flounder a little bit. Don't give up on them. Call them back periodically and see how's that working for you. Easier said than done, like our mothers and fathers always told us. But I do think we have a big win to have when we stick with them and say, okay, let's understand it. Hey, if I could have the promise of having something cost reduced by 30, 40, 50%, I'd give it a whirl too. But then again, I don't go to the mechanic to get my teeth fixed. Maybe you do. I don't know.
You're making a big mistake, Steve. I don't want to talk about it. My mechanic takes my oil and gives me a root canal. It's the best deal in town.
You made a great point about we'll bring you real people, right? So when Monster and Career Builder came out, we got a lot of pushback in the beginning. Oh my God, we don't need you anymore, right? And that went away really, really quick. When, like as Alan said, I had to go through 70 resumes, right? When Monster and Career Builder came out, man, people were just inundating and applying to everything. I still remember running ads for like structural engineers in Orlando, a search I was working on, and this girl applied, and she sent me an email or sent a resume, and it said, by the way, what is an EIT? Because it said you had to have your EIT. And I responded back, if you don't know what an EIT is, you're not qualified for the job. And she like sent back a pissy, like, I can't believe you wouldn't tell me. Like, maybe I do. Okay, whatever, bro. If you fucking don't know what that word, if she didn't have an engineering degree. So, yeah, 1 second, Greg. And so then, like, that's what happened. Like, companies were getting inundated with this, and that's where we shifted back to. And that's, I think, partly how kind of RPO came along, because we need to hire some in-house people to go through all this shit that we're getting.
But the RPO model, and I'm not an RPO expert, but I saw RPO bids when I was an internal consultant. I was shocked. Back then I wanted to get into the RPO world, because at the time I'm thinking this is a bait and switch, because it was we're presenting to, Tommy and Alan's RPO is presenting to, I don't know, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and we're putting everybody on this call is on the team. Here's your team. This is the team that's going to be doing that. And I'm thinking, and I'm looking at the pay rates, Tommy, to the team, and I'm thinking, why would these people do this? Staying at an agency or doing something, and literally in 2 or 3 instances, I saw a company hire RPOs, and then all of a sudden it wasn't the people that were on the bid, but they were people that were affordable. And then it's like, I had the RPO people coming over to me and go, hey, can you help me find a civil engineer? It's like, whoa. You're doing that. I'm doing this. Oh. So yeah, but it's also, Steve, it's being able to demonstrate your expertise in Jordan in logistics, and Anthony in mechanics that are also dentists. That you can prove and display how to find, vet, and qualify.
And I wish Ernie was here. He did an RPO thing for one of these companies. He said he hated it because they were paid him like $100,000 for a 6-month contract, but they were constantly bugging the shit out of him. And that's what he says. Like, I don't want to do that. I own my own firm, so I don't have a boss. right? Sometimes when you go RPO or you contract yourself out, you got a fucking boss again, and that's not something I want to do. Greg, you had a newbie question, you said?
Yes, probably a basic one for most on the call, but what's the best tool to find contact information not available for searches you make, and you find a CEO or find that HR manager or somebody, so their contact is not available on Navigator, Loxo, or some of the free sites out there, trying to get a phone number.
Do you want it free or do you want to pay?
I'm willing to pay, yeah.
Seek out
Zoom. Yeah, go
Zoom.
ahead. Okay, Zoom Info is the best, but it's the most expensive. SalesQL is the best bang for your buck. It's $50 a month for 3,000 lookups. And then everywhere in between, you got Apollo, you got Signal Hire's got a deal going on right now, $2,000 for the year, unlimited
Rocket Reach
emails,
is another good one.
Rocket Reach. I mean, there are dozens. And at the end of the day, they all get their data from roughly the same companies, right? And depending on how often they update their data is important, right? How old is the data is important. 8 data brokers. There you go. You can go to AppSumo and get there's one. It's like $50. They give you 10,000 lookups or something, right? I have Cloudora. I paid $79 for it on AppSumo. I get 20,000 lookups a month. I never hardly ever use it. Right? It's not great data though, right? That's why it was cheap. There's a guy on YouTube called Karsten Fox with a K, Karston, Karsten Fox. He evaluates all the contact finders every 6 months and does a spreadsheet in the comments section of the YouTube video, and you can see which ones are the best, what it costs per item. And I will say this, he started his own. I bought it. It sucks. He still needs to work on it.
Yeah, he had to return the money.
Data is hit or miss, right? Yeah, it's for some industries, it's great. For others, it's not. One of the things Loxo does that I think has made the data get better over year after year after year is the community, the Loxo users flagging bad data. Right. So when Loxo gets you a phone number and the phone number is bad and you flag it, you get that credit back. If Loxo gets you the email and it's bad and you flag it, you get that credit back. And that lets them know not to give that out, that that's bad data. Now, I don't know if they're taking the data that I put in, that I find, and adding it to their system. I hope they're not. But if they're doing that, that makes the data better too. If I put in good data, they see that I put in good data for Huff Log. Somebody's looking for Huff Log and they look at Tom Alashio stuff. The Huff and Tom have talked twice via email. That must be the right email for Huff Log. Let's give Greg Sweet Huff Log's email address. Are they doing that? I don't know. But you can, like, I can give you, if someone said to me, what would you do? I have SalesQL, Loxo, and I pay $40 a quarter for bin verified, BEEN, bin verified, in case I can't find something. To me, bin verified all night. Kelly will call me and say, Tom, I can't find this guy. Can you find it for me? And I would say 75, 80% of the time, if there's a number, an email exists, bin verified, we'll find it. Now, on that same thread, Tony signed up for some data protection thing, and there was an ad in there saying, remove me from the internet. I cannot find anything about Tony fucking anywhere. And then Family Tree Now is what Kelly, I guess, wanted to talk about. So that's kind of my
Tree Now. Family Tree Now.
That's my pitch.
Yep, go to Family Tree Now. It's free, and you can get emails off there too, but they're personal. So
and if you want to spend way too much time on research, go look at Dean DaCosta's Start Me pages.
Yeah, that's like insane.
Or his links, his new website. Have you guys seen his website?
Yeah,
he was on the. It's called sourcinglinks.com.
Yeah, I had the free version of it.
Yeah, but there's Find People Fast. There's Fast People Search. There's all
people search, US people search. Yeah.
I mean, Greg, welcome to recruiting after all those years. I mean, but I mean, you I got to be honest. What markets are you? I mean, I'm looking at your LinkedIn and I'm kind of taking a guess, but what are you focusing on?
Good question.
Oh,
food and ag. Yeah, food and ag.
I mean, I would, if I were you, because the construction business, if I were you, I would be focusing on vertical construction executives all day long nationally. Oh, sorry, Tommy. I'm going for the construction guys. Not the guys that are running.
I'm just fucking with you, man.
I'm actually working with some guys on a construction startup.
Although also, you know, Greg, if you want to kind of go sideways on this, kind of in the same route, go into vertical warehouse growth of cannabis, and because here's the thing, they could only pay in cash because they can't deposit the money. So so they're really happy to pay you because they've got the money to pay you with.
Right.
I talked to a guy the other day who's got
they do this way.
Yeah,
but maybe
that's
not
cool.
division.
Cash. I love cash.
They can't deposit it.
Well, they can in certain states. The credit unions are starting to take it, but the federal banks are an issue, and then you worry about this administration repealing some of the rules back. But yeah, like a friend of mine had a dispensary before the rules changed. They had a big fucking safe in their house and a big fucking safe in the dispensary.
There was a guy that was an individual investor who somehow was like an investor, and it meant you give me the cash, I'll invest in that, that'll be yours, everybody's happy. And
my dispensary takes credit cards.
Yeah.
Debit and credit cards. So my dispensary takes debit and credit cards. So I can go buy, whatever I want with a regular American Express, Visa, or MasterCard.
Yeah. It's funny you mention that. I lost several growers to cannabis industry. 6 months later, they were back looking for a job again. Just didn't work out. This company's closed.
Texas is going to have a big, if they pass that law, any THC at all is 100% illegal, and they have a huge market. They got $1 billion cannabis like gummies, the Delta 6 and Delta 7 and all that bullshit. They get a huge market, and that all is going to become illegal if Hot Wheels signs that bill. And you're going to have those guys going to, there are people are going to lose millions of dollars. Like they'll need jobs.
Hot Wheels.
I love that.
What is back to the data thing. There is one site. Well, there's two things I wanted to say. There is a site called Proxy Curl. Proxy Curl is one of the 8 data brokers, I think. David, do you know if Proxy Curl is one of the 8?
I am not sure. I'm not sure of the names of them.
Because I can get this right here. We can all get this. $45,000 for all the U.S. profiles with emails and phone numbers if they're available. 71 million U.S.-based profiles. If you want all the data, 477 worldwide profiles, 21 million company profiles, 70 grand.
Yep.
So I'm assuming, right? Let's take this one for example. SalesQL buys this every 6 months, right? They spend $90,000 a year, and they have, I pay. Let's say you pay $50 a month. How many people do you have to pay $50 a month to cover that cost, right? 10,000.
45,000, $50 each. I think you have to 800 people.
800 people at $50 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of us, we get 20 of us. We all chip in a.
No, I'm sorry, 900 people. I'm sorry, 900 people.
So if all of us chip in $2,000, we can buy the entire LinkedIn database if we want. 20 of us.
Yeah.
So that's, and they sell some other stuff too. They have API. I'm assuming this is one of the actual data brokers. And then the other thing was, India. So I have a client right now that is paying a firm in India $10 an hour to research every parking garage in the 5 boroughs of Manhattan and getting the contact information. And they're able to whip it out. They say it's amazing what they can do. So that's something I kind of thought, like, I don't need that now, but the company I'm consulting for out of Ukraine wants to scale up to 100,000 emails a month. And I said, look, instead of trying to find all this information yourself, it might behoove you guys to look into sending the lists to these companies and saying, okay, do what you need to do and get me all the contact information for all these people. So for those of you out there that are desperate for contact info, those are options too. Because what they'll do is not only do they use the data scrapers we use, but they'll actually frigging go on the internet and find the person and, track down that person's email address, the phone number, their title and everything. Because that's what this company wants. This company other client of mine wants anybody who manages the maintenance and operation of a multi-story concrete parking garage in the 5 boroughs. And I guess, well, why can't you do? I gave him a couple. It was, no, man, this is just for the cost that we're having to pay. It beats out everything, and it's accurate data. They use Google Maps to look at the street view of each parking garage, and then go find the information and send it back to my client in a spreadsheet. So I don't know what it would cost to have a guy do $400, $10 an hour, 40 hours a week. How much can he get done? So anything else? It's the end of the Friday. We're hitting our hour mark where we go to our double secret probation, so we can discuss where Anthony and Steve do all their work and hear about all their clients that we don't want anybody else to hear about. So anything before we go off?
Hey, I would just like to ask Jordan, since you're doing supply chain and logistics, man, what are you seeing out there?
Good question.
Oh, it's so different company by company. I mean, some are ramping up, others are holding to see how the tariffs are affecting them. But I mean, stuff's got to move always. Like, there's no way around that. So I do mostly director plus roles, and they've still been going good.
Man,
Dom does logistics too, and from what he was saying, him and I asked about that before, was if it's a logistics in the U.S., that's still okay, right? Stuff has to get from the oranges in California have to get to fucking my grocery store in Maryland, right? And the oranges in Florida got to make it to the processing plants in Missouri.
There's so many things going on. And there's so many different. You can be talking about supply chain software, but overall, a lot of people, you see a lot of buzzwords on LinkedIn right now about bonded warehouses. So what does that mean? That means that, well, depending on if they're in a free trade zone, right, they can go in there and rework their product. But if it's not, and you need space right now to get it over here, you're trying to play the tariff game, then you got, you're basically just delaying the tariff and the taxes, right? So that's why they look for bonded warehouses, and you'll probably see it on LinkedIn if you know anyone in warehousing. But on our end, we're fucking slammed. I have way too many sales. Everybody needs this. Is what I do, sales and professional services, but everybody needs salespeople.
Yeah.
Just got 2 offers today. One of them wants to push out the start date to July 27th. I go, July 28th or whatever that Monday is. You can't do that in sales. That's 2 time kills deals, all deals. Yeah. That's what I'm battling right now. So I got to make sure, try to get this girl to start in 2 weeks. But yeah, it's good right now on my end.
And I think, that's what I think too, is when certain industries are having issues, you have to look for the spots where they can't, right? They have to. Every recession, I still made over $100,000 because I had clients who had locations that were very rural. They couldn't find good people, and so they would call me, right? And granted, I wasn't knocking it out of the park at the time, but still, I was keeping the food on the table and my roof over my head, no matter how bad the economy got. And I think that's what people, need. That's why we talked about the recession-proofing your desk, and how are you going to think outside the box with that? How are you going to figure out what can I do so fine, this industry sucks. What do I do next?
Yeah, and another thing too is they just raised the shipping containers prices 100% on the East Coast, right? Or 100% on the East Coast, 60% on the West Coast. So that $4,500 container is now coming in at $8,500, which is going to affect all the prices, right? And then
why?
Yeah, it's just
what's 2 things. Number one, everybody, Dom helped me out earlier in the week. Freaking huge props.
Real quick, Alan, I'm going to stop the streaming so we can talk a little more confidentially. So just give me 1 second. That's it for today's Recruiter Roundtable. Thank you all for attending, sharing, and watching later. We really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe and share the Roundtable on social media anywhere you can. Thank you for being part of the Recruiter Roundtable. We really appreciate it. YouTube.com at the Recruiter Roundtable, www.recruiterroundtable.com. Check us out on LinkedIn at the Recruiter Roundtable. Legal services roundtable provided by the law offices of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. For topic suggestions, tips, tricks, and more, please email us at therecruiterroundtable@gmail.com. Remember, this podcast may contain confidential information that is privileged or unsuitable for overly sensitive person, low self-esteem, and no sense of humor or rational original beliefs. Thanks again for being part of this roundtable. We really appreciate it. For Ernie Moreno, who's not here, and Kelly Nelson, I'm Tom Alaschio. We'll see you next week on the Recruiter Roundtable. Until then, don't forget to smile and dial. We're out. So go ahead.